she tries to...
You're listening to TNCRadio.live, Houston, Texas. This station is owned and operated by MCCO LLC, a privately held Texas corporation.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Russia will take legal action if the West tries to force it to default on its sovereign debt, the finance minister told pro-Kremlin newspaper on Monday, sharpening Moscow's tone in its financial wrestle with the West.
Now, Russia is facing its first sovereign external default in more than a century after it made arrangements to make an international bond repayment in rubles earlier this week, even though payment was due in dollars.
Austrian Chancellor Karl Nehammer said Monday that he urged Russian President Vladimir Putin to end the invasion of Ukraine and raise the issue of serious war crimes committed by the Russian military. Nehammer was the first European leader to meet Putin in Moscow since Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine February 24th. In a statement released after the meeting, the Austrian Chancellor said his primary message to Putin in the very direct, open, and tough talks was that this war needs to end because in war, both sides can only lose. Moscow has tapped General Alexander Dvornikov to lead the Russian invasion of Ukraine amid a reorganization to unify the military command structure and change its war tactics, reports said. David Alexander reports.
Senior Western officials, who were not identified, have told the New York Times and the BBC that Dvornikov, the commander of Russia's southern military district, has been selected to oversee the poorly coordinated Russian troops which have suffered incredible resistance from Ukrainian forces.
National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said Russia planned attacks on Ukrainian civilians.
We, in fact, before the war began, declassified intelligence and presented it, indicating that there was a plan from the highest levels of the Russian government to target civilians who oppose the invasion, to cause violence against them, to organize efforts to brutalize them in order to try to terrorize the population and subjugate it. So this is something that was planned.
This is the latest news headlines. The average U.S. price of a gallon of regular grade gasoline dropped 10 cents over the past 2 weeks to $4.27 per gallon as oil prices continue to go up and down, industry analyst Trilby Lundberg said Sunday. The price at the pump was $1.32 above what it was 1 year ago, according to the Lundberg survey taken Friday. Nationwide, the highest average price for regular grade gas was in Los Angeles at $5.85 per gallon. The lowest average was in Tulsa, Oklahoma at $3.52 per gallon. Incumbent Emmanuel Macron will face far-right nationalist Marine Le Pen in a winner-takes-all runoff for the French presidency after they both advanced Sunday in the first round of voting in the country's election to set up another head-to-head clash of their sharply opposing visions for France.
In the first round of voting Saturday, Macron won over 27% support. Le Pen placed second at 23%. Macron urged French voters to reject Le Pen's xenophobic policies.
A man accused of shooting pop star Lady Gaga's dog walker and stealing her 2 French bulldogs was erroneously released this week, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department said. 19-year-old James Howard Jackson was released from custody Wednesday afternoon, shortly after a court appearance because his case was dismissed. His release was due to a clerical error, the LASD said in a statement. Jackson is one of 3 men accused of shooting Lady Gaga's dog walker Ryan Fisher and stealing her 2 dogs. COVID-19 is continuing to subside throughout the world, with cases in the past week down to slightly above 1 million a day and deaths under 3,500, though a few hotspots remain, including South Korea with more than 1.5 million in the past week. Data are trending down despite subvariants of Omicron. Infections and fatalities decreased on every continent except cases in North America, with rises in the United States and Mexico, and deaths in Oceania spurred by Australia and slightly by New Zealand. And that's the latest news headlines. I'm Alan Edwards.
TNCRadio.live, your commercial driver navigation station.
It's Steve Summers' Overnight Drive, midnight Eastern, 11 p.m. Central, right here on TNCRadio.live. Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Good evening and welcome to TNC Radio.live. This is Taillights. Now here are your hosts, Angie and Larry Baum.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, everybody. So tonight we actually have special friends of ours on the show to share their stories from over the road. Who do we have with us tonight, Larry?
James and Lori Underwood.
Yes. So James is a truck driver and Lori is a trucker's wife who's out there on the road with him. So you guys want to say hello to everybody?
Hello. Feels good. We feel special now.
Well, you should. You're on our show.
Yay!
As our very first guest on our very first show.
Yes.
Okay,
we're so
that's
happy to have you.
awesome. I love it.
You guys want to tell everybody a little bit about your guys' situation and tell them a little bit about who you guys are?
I'm retired from the military. After that, I decided to go into trucking because my dad drove when I was a kid, and I loved it then. I love it now. And once our kids grew up and moved out on their own, Lori came out with me on the truck, and we live on the road now.
I've been out here going on 7 years now?
6.
6 years? Yeah.
And what branch were you in and how long did you serve?
I was in the Army for 24 years.
Well, very good. Thank you so much for your service.
And thank you for yours.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for your support.
Now, for those of you guys listening, Lori and James and I and Larry have been friends for quite a while. We're all truck drivers, and we've actually had the pleasure of finding each other over the road and being able to spend a couple days together. We actually were at the People's Convoy together, and then a couple months ago, we did our 34s together in Phoenix, Arizona. So it's nice when we can actually meet up on the road and get to spend time together.
And we've met James's lovely mom. How is she doing, by the way?
She's doing good as far as I know. I haven't talked to her in about a week or two.
Yeah,
she is a sweetheart.
She was very funny. Now, Lori, I know that a lot of truckers' wives a lot of times are at home taking care of the family, which you've done, and holding down the fort. But you're out there with James on the road, so you kind of see everything he goes through and all the struggles. What do you think that a lot of people might not know about the trucking industry, since you're kind of seeing it from a different perspective of a wife being out there with him?
Well, oftentimes that the wives are home, they don't really realize it, or, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. A lot of times when the significant other is home, they don't really realize what their driver is going through. So, for me out here, I see how tired he gets. I see by the time he's shutting down for the night, he's extremely exhausted, I see the mental part of it all, the people cutting him off, the people that are are rude out on the roads and how much he's got to really watch himself out here. And then, when we stop at night, we still have to cook. We have to take dogs out, all that kind of stuff. So he's not getting to bed till 9 or 10 at night. And he doesn't get a full 10 hours sleep,
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part is people think a lot of times as truck drivers, well, you're just doing 10 hours of driving. It's not that hard, but it's a lot of mental, I think. Because you have to be aware of your surroundings and everything that's going on.
Well, I think for the spouses that are home, they think, and I was bad on this too, well, you're just sitting in a seat all day. Why are you so tired,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really realize that until I got out here with them.
Yeah.
And with him having to watch the road constantly and wondering, okay, what is that car going to do? What is that car going to do? What is that car going to do? It takes a tear on them. It really affects them out here.
Absolutely. Well, so I know that you guys have a story you were going to tell us about a blizzard that you guys experienced on Mount Hood. You want to tell us a little bit about that, James?
Well, we had a load going into Portland, Oregon, and we came across the main highway, which I believe was 84, was shut down. So my GPS rerouted me down some little state highways, which, unbeknownst to me at the time, took us up the backside of Mount Hood. And there was absolutely no signage, no warning, no nothing until we got to the top of the mountain, and all of a sudden we're in whiteout conditions, and there's about 3 inches of snow on the road. So I quickly had to find a place to pull off, put my chains on, because I was about to go down a 6% grade, and the roads had not been plowed. So it would have been really, really dangerous had I not stopped and put my chains on. We probably wouldn't be talking to you now.
There was a pull-off, a parking lot that had like restrooms and stuff like that. So we pulled in there, but as soon as we pulled in, it said no trucks. We're like, oh Lord, now what do we do? Now we're stuck in this parking lot. We got to get turned around. Hopefully we can get through this parking lot. So yeah, it was a scary moment.
It was a little tense.
Oh.
Well, for me, it sounded like fun.
And actually, we didn't know that it was actually considered a blizzard until we got to Portland, and the next day we were talking to Larry and Angie on their live, and Angie's the one that told us it was a blizzard.
Yep. Oh.
But I think something like that out here, sometimes there's just no warning for weather.
No.
I think that's the hardest part of driving is exactly what you just said. Sometimes the weather just comes on you faster than you think.
Sometimes it even sneaks up on Angie while she's doing her weather.
Yes.
Right.
I'm notorious for doing weather for everybody else and then forgetting to check the weather for the direction that we're going. I'll be like, oh, sorry, I totally forgot about that thunderstorm. Oh, I'm terrible.
That's funny.
But you're good.
Yes. So I wanted to tell everybody, can you guys tell everybody real quick where they can find you guys? Because you guys live stream just like we do. And I know that you guys got a Facebook page. You want to tell everybody what the name of your Facebook page is?
Our Facebook page is Rolling with the Underwoods. And we also do some videos on TikTok. We haven't gone live on TikTok yet, but it's also Rolling with the Underwoods on TikTok.
Yep. So right now you can find us on TikTok and Facebook. We're working on our Instagram and
that's it.
That's it.
That's enough. That's enough. It's
That's
enough. It's enough. Well, the nice thing about doing that is people actually get to see the real life of trucking, which is nice. That they can see you behind the wheel and see your view from the window. So that's what's really nice.
And they get some good conversation.
Yes, exactly.
When we're not slap happy.
A lot of nice people.
Yes.
And we also do some cooking shows on Facebook, on our page, when we choose to cook in the truck that night.
I gotta say, I love watching you guys cook.
Yeah, and James, you're usually the one that does the cooking. Isn't that right?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had an agreement that when we had our house, when we were home, I cook. We're on the road, he cooks. Well, now since there's no home right now it's going to be split up where it's equal.
Well, that's, yeah.
Yes, Lori, we want to watch you cook some more.
Well, come on down and watch us cook. It won't be tonight. We got to make a Walmart run.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I'm going to say, I think we're going to get ready to take a commercial break real quick, and then we'll be back here in just a few minutes with James and Lori Underwood.
The infoblog on tncradio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. A truck driver's guide to balancing work and home life. Truck driving's hard and demanding work. Becoming a truck driver means spending many hours and days on the road. You'll sacrifice a lot for your trucking career. For many long-haul truck drivers, it's hard to separate life at work from life at home. Learning how to have a balance between home life and work life is essential if you want to have a long-lasting career in trucking. Check out our guide to balancing work and home life for truck drivers. Get enough sleep. Getting the recommended amount of sleep each night is a rare thing for truckers. Although sleep may be difficult for truckers because of the uncomfortable way of living, it's essential to their well-being and safety. Start prioritizing sleep and make a sleep schedule. Set an alarm for a certain time and turn off all electronics and get your much-needed sleep. Not enough sleep can make life on the road miserable. Exercise often. Due to the many hours of sitting each day, truckers start to experience body pain and health issues. Not exercising and taking care of your health can cause a lot of problems in the long run. You could be out of a job and possibly out of work. Eat healthy. Having your truck stocked with healthy snacks and meals while you're on the road will help teach you how to have a healthy work-life balance. Start making it a habit to go to the grocery store before you head out on the road. Also, avoid eating at fast food restaurants and truck stops. Do not think about work when you're at home. Whether you love trucking or hate it, you've probably thought about your job while you're off the clock. It can be difficult to separate the two. Thinking about work too much while you're at home can make you anxious, sleep-deprived, and put you in a bad mood. Instead of worrying about work, try picking up a new hobby or exercising. Spending time with friends and family can also get your mind off things. Make time for family. It doesn't matter if you're on the road or at home. Make time for family. Make it a priority to talk to someone in your family once a day. It can be tough for truckers, especially OTR truckers, to maintain relationships with their family due to the trucking lifestyle. Keeping in contact with your loved ones will help life on the road be less lonely. For more information, be sure to check out the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
TNCRadio.live, your commercial driver navigation station.
Hey drivers, did you hear music on TNCRadio.live that you really liked? Or maybe you heard us interview an author of a book you'd like to read or listen to. You can get the books, music, and other products you hear about by going to our website at www.tncradio.live and clicking on the shopping cart.
Welcome back to Taillights with Angie and Larry Baum right here on TNCRadio.live.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back. Yeah, we cruise around the United States. We see some awesome stuff. And lighthouse. You love lighthouses, don't you?
I do. I went to Michigan specifically just to see lighthouses.
How cool. Have you guys experienced any lighthouses out there?
We did actually. We had a delivery in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and we had a couple days before we had to pick up our next load. So I did a Google search and I actually found a military base and we disconnected from our trailer. We bobtailed the truck over to the base and went on, and we got to see the first lighthouse that was built by the U.S. military in the United States.
Wow.
Okay, that's really
That's
neat.
very interesting. Did you get to go inside of it?
I did. I climbed all the way to the top. Lori didn't because at that point she was still in the wheelchair. But I climbed to the top. I took pictures of the staircase going up. And I took pictures of everything around it, the view around it and everything, because it was absolutely gorgeous. It was Chesapeake Bay.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Beautiful.
Oh, there was actually 2 lighthouses there.
Yeah, there's the original one, and then I guess something in the foundation had cracked on the original lighthouse, so they built a second one to replace it in the 60s. But they left both standing, and you can go up in the original, but you can't go up in the replacement.
So the replacement one was built in the 60s. When was the original built?
In the late 1700s.
Whoa, holy crow. Holy.
And I do have to say, one of the cool things about James and Lori is they run kind of like we do, which is nice, which is kind of new to you guys, actually, but where you guys kind of get to pick and choose off of a load board on where you want to go. And now that you guys sold your house, you're going to have a lot more time for when you have your 34s to be able to see a lot of the cool stuff like the lighthouse in Virginia and stuff like that. You guys looking forward to that?
We are actually. We just did that. We delivered a load in Orlando, and we chose to take 4 days off down there. And we did a little bit of sightseeing. We did some shopping, took care of some things we needed to do, and got Lori's hair done.
Yes,
I saw that. Your hair looks so cool. Now, what do you call that look?
It is called a unicorn look.
That's what I was just going to say. It reminds me of a unicorn.
Yep, it's called unicorn.
Colors of hair.
I have like 6 different colors in my hair.
Yep.
It looks amazing.
I was going to say, that's
you,
one of
Daddy.
the things. Because we live on the road, literally. I mean, you guys live on the road just as much as we do. So when you have your downtime, sometimes it's kind of hard to find places to get your stuff done, like grocery shopping and hair and nails and haircuts and stuff like that. So that's always, fun to try to see, okay, where can I get a truck in?
It's a lot easier for guys because there are some truck stops that have barbers.
That's true.
But for girls to get your nails done, to get your hairs done, that's where you got to search.
Absolutely.
And the most difficult of all is finding a vet or a groomer that you can get your pets into.
Yes, we have that same issue. Because you guys have got 2 dogs, Lady and Thor, and they're Chihuahuas, right?
Yep.
Yep. And then we've got our 2, Gizmo and Bandit. So, yeah, we go through that. They're scheduled next week, as a matter of fact, to get groomed, and they are overdue.
And we may not be home in time to make it.
Yeah, we'll see. So I was going to ask, so right now we're dealing with all kinds of crazy weather. We've got a blizzard conditions up in the north, and then now we've got all this severe weather. James, have you ever been in a situation as a truck driver where you've come across some really severe weather that scared you?
Yes. I was going into Louisiana for a delivery, and I ended up having to shut down because of the wind and the rain, because I was 10 miles from the epicenter of Hurricane Ida when it came through Louisiana.
Oh, my goodness.
That must have been terrifying.
Yeah, the truck was rocking all night long in that parking lot, and when I got up, there were tree branches down. Luckily, no trees fell around where I was parked. But there was a lot of tree branches and a lot of debris laying out on the highways and stuff.
I wasn't out there for that one. I was actually home for a little while when he went through that. But it was a pretty big ordeal for him.
Yeah.
I bet you it was scary since you weren't with him too, because I think that's one of the things that I've always said, and I know, Lori, you think the same way. Truckers' wives and significant others, the ones that are at home taking care of the household and the kids, to me, those are the heroes of the trucking industry because they're keeping their trucker, going and safe out there. And I bet you that was nerve-wracking knowing you'd just been in a hurricane and you were at home worrying.
It was, I was definitely afraid of him. I was afraid that because how close he was, what was going to happen to the truck, what was going to happen to him. I kept in contact the best I could, but he didn't have very good service either, so that made it even more difficult. So it was one of those nights where I paced the halls quite a bit.
Well, that's another good thing that you bring up, and I know that's an issue that Larry and I ran into. I know you guys have run into it, but the biggest thing, since we travel all over all 48 states, having reliable cell phone and internet service is like crucial, and I know that we both have issues with that. Has that ever played a factor, like where you guys are trying to get somewhere and you've lost connection or you've lost phone service somewhere where you really needed it?
Yes, there has been. Not too long ago, but a couple months or so ago, we were in the boondocks, like desert everywhere, and we literally couldn't even message anybody.
I remember that was like 3 days, wasn't it?
3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, we were on US 50 going up through, I want to say it was Arizona and Utah, because we were on our way to Colorado.
I think so.
And US 50 actually, when we first hit the highway, I saw a sign that said, "Welcome to the loneliest highway in the United States."
Oh my gosh.
It is literally the loneliest highway because, like I said, you had no cell service. We didn't have cell service for like 2 or 3 days. So I felt totally out of the loop. I couldn't talk to anybody, I was like, this is not cool.
Oh,
I was missing my friends.
Yeah, Larry wouldn't know what to do. You couldn't play his games.
Right? Well, it's hard when you don't have good cell service because you start to miss your friends, you start to miss being able to talk to people, you start to miss posting on Facebook, all that kind of stuff. So when it's just a team for those couple of days.
Yeah, and the two of us being alone in the truck in that lonely of a situation for 3 days, you start to get on each other's nerves a little bit.
You do.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the things that, being team drivers, it's like, I think people think, oh, that's awesome because you've got somebody out there with you, but it can still get pretty lonely out there on the road. Have you guys, I know we've discussed this before, even though it's the two of you, you're in a 10 by 10 foot box and it can still get pretty lonely out there. That's why modern technology is a wonderful thing.
Well, the conversations get kind of old some days. They get a little stale. And so that's kind of when we either go live or I talk to my friends or something. So then I have something to bring back to the table so we have something else to talk about.
Absolutely. So James, I was going to ask you, what do you find, since you're the truck driver, what's the best way for you, like when you need to unwind, say you get done with your day as a trucker, how do you get yourself to just kind of unwind before you go to bed?
Get those lines out of your head.
A lot of times I just kind of sit and talk with Lori or we're on social media. But my best way for me to unwind and relax is I kill stuff on my Xbox.
We knew you were going to say that.
Yep. Because we're in such a confined space that we still try to give each other that that space that we need. So at night after we cook dinner or whatever, he'll jump on his Xbox. I'll either talk to my friends or play on my tablet, or I now have a Nintendo Switch that I have too out here. So we still have our own private time, you know.
Absolutely.
James, I want to kill stuff with you. We got to get together and hook up our Xboxes.
Yeah, you do. And you're wrong.
All right, guys, we'll be right back with Lori and James Underwood. Please be sure to come back and follow us.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Cortman, and now for the Mental Health Minute. In the last video, we were talking about Hans Selye at the University of Montreal and how he discovered this general adaptation syndrome, which has 3 different distinct stages. The first stage, the alarm reaction. And we were built for this alarm reaction, this fight or flight. We can do this many times throughout our lives and never have it be a big issue. The problem is when the perceived threat, the stressor, stays with us. And then we go into a second stage called resistance. In resistance, we're fighting that stressor in high gear. We continue to fight and fight and fight to protect our system from some type of perceived stressor. Like what? Well, sometimes we have chronic financial problems. We're underemployed, or the bills just keep coming in and we don't have enough to pay them off. And sometimes we have a high conflict relationship or high conflict marriage that ends up a high conflict divorce. Or sometimes we have a sick child or some type of illness in the family that we can't get an accurate diagnosis, let alone successful treatment. Whatever it is, the stressor continues, and we continue to resist that in the second stage, which leads to a third stage, which is exhaustion. And according to Selye, that's when we break down. We have our depressive episodes, or we begin to be dominated by an anxiety disorder, or sometimes we have these psychophysiological symptoms like migraine headaches, or we even have issues that require years of stress, like Parkinson's disease. We have things that are caused by the wear and tear of the body over time. That's the third stage of stress, exhaustion. Now, this logically leads to a fourth stage, which is disease, and then a fifth stage, which is death. Stress over a long period of time ages us, breaks us down, and leads us to death. I'll talk to you in the next video on how we could avoid that.
Be sure to listen to Building Strong Minds with Dr. Chris, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, right here on tncradio.live.
Hot Shots Secret presents Steve Summers' Overnight Drive nightly at midnight Eastern, 11 Central on tncradio.live or download the app .tncradio.live.
tncradio.live, your commercial driver navigation station.
Welcome back, tncradio.live. This is Taillights with Larry and Angie Baum.
Well, hello. Welcome back. I'd say we should talk about the storm right now. We got some major weather coming ahead of us.
We do. We got blizzard conditions and severe weather both this week.
Where do you think the worst part is going to be?
Well, right now it seems to be the severe weather down south. There's already a lot of tornado warnings tonight. Have you, James and Lori, have you guys, I believe there's a story about you guys being stuck in the snow or something?
Yeah. I think it was like 2 years ago. when Houston got hit by that huge ice storm that shut down like half the country.
Oh, yeah.
We happened to have a load that was going to Houston, and we made it to West Memphis, Arkansas, pulled into the terminal for our company we worked for at that time. It was whiteout conditions, and once we got into the terminal and parked for the night, we woke up the next morning, there was about 2 feet of snow in front of my truck, and the gate guard at the terminal told me, "We're shut down, you're not allowed to leave." We ended up stuck in that terminal for 5 days.
Oh my goodness. Did you guys have like food and supplies to get you through the 5 days?
We did have some, because of course we have our refrigerator and everything here in the truck, but not enough for 5 days. So I wound up walking a mile up the road to a truck stop.
In the snow, freezing cold.
And I bought us some more stuff that we needed and came back.
Oh my goodness.
So there was so many trucks there, and a lot of them were having problems with the bunk heaters and the
not
trucks
enough
being
fuel.
cold. Not enough fuel. So they actually brought out fuel for the trucks, and they also brought out some food too.
Oh, that's good at least. Oh my goodness, I couldn't imagine 5 days. We've never been stranded that long.
Oh, it was rough for both of us because we're by the fourth day. No, I'm going to say the third day. I'm going to be honest. By the third day, we're both climbing the walls.
I bet. Was it hard for you guys? Like, were you guys at each other's throat too by day 3? You were like, "Get me out of here."
Oh, absolutely. I would actually get out of the truck and go inside the terminal every couple of hours for a little bit, just so that I could give her a little bit of time to herself and I could get a little bit of alone time.
It was definitely trying.
That's when we
that much. It was pretty rough.
That's when we would slam the curtain, and I'll say, "Angie, you stay up front. You be on your social media. I'll stay in the back, and I'll play on my Xbox, and we'll see you in another 2 hours."
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't do that because the snowstorm and everything had Wi-Fi going nowhere.
Oh no, that's even worse.
Yes,
Stuck for 5 days without Wi-Fi. Oh my God!
Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't even watch TV on our, because we stream all our TV over Wi-Fi. So yeah, we couldn't even watch TV.
Talk about being stir crazy. Well, that's, that kind of brings up a good point, and I know it's something that we've mentioned, but, we always suggest to truck drivers, especially the newbies that are just getting ready to start out, to make sure that you have some supplies on your truck for that very reason, that if you do get stuck by weather, because as we talked, weather is so unpredictable, that, having a jug of water, maybe some canned soup or something on your truck to sustain you for a couple days, because just like you said, you just never know when the weather is going to affect you and being stranded.
And we have something else on our truck. We have a game and we have cards. So if there is no Wi-Fi, no service, no nothing, we can still sit down and play some cards.
Yes.
I can tell you those 5 days really taught us a lesson, because like he said, we didn't make a Walmart run or anything, so we didn't have a lot of food on our truck. We didn't have what we carry now. We learned by that situation, and now we always have water bottles. We always have extra blankets. We always have medical supplies. We always have canned goods.
Yeah, and see, that's a good thing. I think so many times, that's not really something we learn about in CDL school, and it's not really something they teach you when you're out with a trainer. So when you are a new truck driver, sometimes you just don't think about having, extra blankets, extra comforters, extra staples that you need to have on hand, and that's a prime example right there. I think the longest that we've ever been stranded is we were stranded for 2 days due to snow, and thank goodness we had the supplies in our truck.
I have to admit, I mean, we've grown a lot out here together, and now we know like the ins and outs of things that we need to have on the truck more and things we don't need on the truck so much.
That's what we have to learn, Lori. Our truck is just jam-packed with stuff. We need to learn to condense.
It can be, sometimes it can be hard, and honestly it can be hard because you want to, this is your home, and so you want to make sure that you have the nice clothing in case you want to go out for a nice dinner. You want to make sure that you have, like for us women, our makeup and our jewelry and all that kind of stuff. So it's really hard to minimize what you're bringing so your truck isn't so loaded.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to ask you, and I don't care who wants to answer this one, you guys maybe both do, but real quickly, so if anybody's thinking about going out there with their spouse to become, a team, and whether it's they're both driving or one of them's a driver, one of them's, as Lori would say, seat holder, what advice do you have so that you're not like at each other's throats constantly? What do you do when things get tense?
When things get tense for us, or we're in an argument or a disagreement or whatever, we try really hard to leave each other alone. So if he's driving, I'll come in the back for a while. I'll play with the dogs or do social media or whatever. But that's how we really get through it. It's same thing at home. When you're home, you need to walk away from that situation for a while. Well, I know we're in such a confined space here, it's easier if he's driving, like I said, I come in the back. If we're parked, well, then one of us stays up, one of us comes in the back, or we both go to our beds or something, but we don't talk for at least 1 or 2 hours so we can cool down, and then we come back to each other and be like, okay, look, this is why we're upset.
Yeah, I think communication is the biggest key to having a successful relationship out there, because if you guys can't communicate and get along, it'll never work out there in a 10 by 10 foot space 24/7.
Exactly. I can't really talk for James, but I'm not sure how he feels on it. But for me, it's just easier to be best of friends. That is my advice, to be best friends first. Make sure you have that good foundation if you're thinking about coming out here with your spouse.
Absolutely.
I agree. Got to be friends first.
Yes. And as Lori and I always joke, the guys are always in work mode.
Always in work mode. I'm like, really, babe? Time to relax. No, I gotta do this. No, I gotta do this. No, I gotta do this. I'm like, babe, you gotta sit down. You gotta rest.
It is very hard to get out of work mode.
It is. And it's, there's always something that needs to be done.
Always.
So, I mean, especially being in the truck, because when you do get your time off, the truck needs to be cleaned, paperwork needs to be done.
And there's always tweaking you want to do on your truck.
Oh, that's the
absolutely
fun part. That's the fun part. When you get to buy a couple little extra chrome pieces or something and throw them on your truck, that's the fun thing.
What has been the newest thing you've got for your truck?
Actually, we just got 2 new CB antennas, and we bought a 3,000 watt inverter to replace our 2,000 watt inverter.
That's what we need. We definitely need to upgrade our inverter.
Yeah, I can only use one appliance at a time before I blow all the fuses in our truck, which does not make it easy for cooking.
No.
Ours is the same way right now. But with the 3,000 watt inverter, I believe we'll be able to use multiple of appliances at one time.
Yes.
All right, we're going to be right back with Lori and James Underwood, and you're listening to us on Tail Lights on TNC Radio.
Frontlane introduces Impulse, the world's first collision alert system for the driver behind you when you have to brake hard. Impulse uses ultra-bright pulsing red LEDs to alert drivers behind you who might not be giving their full attention to the road. Using amazing accelerometer technology and a battery that will last for years, Impulse installs in minutes, fits nearly any vehicle, and never requires additional wiring. Drivers react 50% faster, helping to protect you and your passengers. Learn more by visiting www.frontlane.com/impulse. That's www.frontlane.com/impulse. Approved by all 50 states. Impulse by Frontlane.
This blog is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. The dark side of the long-haul trucker lifestyle. A trucker's lifestyle can be a gloomy place at times. The long days, stressful work environments, and loneliness have major effects on a driver's life. The dark side of the long-haul trucker's lifestyle is often overlooked and not addressed. As a result, many drivers suffer from mental and physical health problems. Before entering the trucking industry, long-haul truck drivers need to be aware of the good and bad that comes with this lifestyle. It's difficult to stay healthy. Being in good health is a rare thing for long-haul truck drivers. Life on the road doesn't give drivers many opportunities to live a healthy lifestyle. When you spend the majority of your trucking career on the go, your food options are limited. Although taking an exit to get McDonald's may seem like an easy solution or the easiest option, eating fast food for every meal for weeks at a time can cause serious health issues. Obesity is one of the most common health issues in truckers. If you don't watch your diet and exercise, you could end up developing a serious health problem. Say goodbye to a regular sleep schedule. The trucking industry runs 24/7, 365, so having a regular sleep schedule is rare for long-haul drivers. The loading and unloading times are often never the same. At times, the driver will deliver a load at 2 a.m. one day and 1 p.m. the next day. In addition to the inconsistent load times, drivers can make multiple deliveries a day. This creates a lot of stress on the body and leaves the driver operating on a few hours of sleep. If you're struggling with getting enough sleep and staying awake on the road, check out our blog, 5 Easy Steps to Help Truckers Stay Awake While Driving. You'll feel lonely. It's not uncommon for long-haul truck drivers to feel lonely while on the road. Drivers have very little face-to-face interactions while working on the road. While this may seem like a good thing for some drivers, it can start to develop depressive symptoms. Depression is a common side effect of trucking. To help avoid feeling depressed on the road, talk to your friends and family on the phone at least once a day. As a long-haul truck driver, you can often feel like you're missing out on your loved one's life. Communicating with them daily will help you feel less lonely. It's hard on your relationships. Long-haul trucking can strain your relationship with your significant other. Being away from your loved one for weeks at a time is never easy. In addition to being apart, many drivers struggle with balancing their work life and personal life. Relationships already take a lot of work, but long-distance relationships take even more work. When you become a long-haul truck driver, it's important to be willing to put an extra effort into your relationship. Some quick tips to having a healthy relationship as a long-haul truck driver. Communicate daily. Spend as much time together as possible when you're not working. Consider therapy. Avoid arguments. Trust each other. This blog has been brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
I'm Shelley Johnson with Kathy Tuccaro. You can hear us Tuesdays on tncradio.live at 8 p.m. Eastern on Women Road Warriors. And don't miss Steve Summers' Overnight Drive right here on tncradio.live, weeknights midnight to 5 a.m. Eastern. Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
For the latest in traffic, weather, and information, catch the Morning Grind weekdays right here on tncradio.live.
Oh, I will bleed silver and black till God takes me back.
I heard that before. I love that line.
I believe you say that all the time.
Me too. That's why I just stole it from you.
You didn't have to steal it. I'll give it to you.
Yeah,
we can share.
Not only are we all best friends, but they both are Raiders fans.
And
I love
hopefully soon,
And
hopefully
speaking
next year,
about
we'll be
speaking
able to
about
go see a
Texas.
Raiders game together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of Texas.
That would be amazing. Yeah, speaking of Texas, they're having some major storms right now. I bet there's going to be a lot of accidents in Texas. Have you guys ever experienced an accident in Texas?
We have. We were coming up from San Antonio up to Dallas, and we were on one of the smaller back highways. I don't remember which one at this point. But there was another 18-wheeler that passed me. And so, of course, I flashed my lights to let him come over in front of me. He got over in front of me, went off on the right-hand shoulder, then shot back across into the left lane, into the median. And when the dust cleared, I saw his truck laying on its side.
Oh, wow.
What had happened was when he came over in front of me, a gust of wind caught him and pushed him off the shoulder. And he overcorrected coming back, and that's what put him in the median and made him roll. Thanks to us carrying the medical supplies that we carry on the truck, I grabbed the first aid kit. I ran over to him, to his truck, after I parked my truck, of course.
I was driving it. I'm kidding.
I pulled off to the side of the highway, and I set my brakes, and I jumped out. And I ran over to his truck. I had to actually pull the windshield out of his truck to help him get out of the truck. And me and another gentleman that had stopped shortly after I did performed some first aid on him, took care of some of his scrapes and bruises. We got him to sit down because he had slammed the steering wheel into his chest. And I personally think he had a couple of broken ribs, possibly a punctured lung, because he was coughing up blood. He had road rash over, I'd say, from just under his armpit to just above his knee on his left side. I had to go back in the truck and get his shoes for him, because I guess they had gotten knocked off or something when the truck rolled. And then we waited for Texas Highway Patrol to show up. I gave them my statement, and then we went about a mile down the road and pulled off and parked for the night because of the wind.
Wow.
Wow, that's crazy. So you were a hero.
No, I was in the right place at the right time with the right equipment to help.
That's awesome. But you know, how many other drivers, you would hope the other drivers would stop, but it doesn't always happen. We've seen it before.
No, it doesn't. There's tons of other drivers, but they just kept passing us right by. You know, there was only a couple that actually stopped to help. But I do thank God that James was there at that time. We were able to help that driver out, you know.
Well, with my military training, of course, I do have a lot of first aid training, combat medic training that the military made us go through. So if I see an accident or just see somebody that's hurt, I'm going to stop and try to help provide first aid because I have the knowledge of how to help them.
Right.
And I feel like since I have that knowledge, it was given to me for a reason, so I should try to help.
Absolutely. We're getting close to the end of the show, and I wanted to give you guys a chance to mention where everybody can watch you guys, because you guys do a lot of live streaming. Can you tell everybody where they can find you guys at?
You can find us on Facebook. Just look up Rolling with the Underwoods. And you can also find us on TikTok. We do all kinds of interesting ones. We do make sure that we do some trekking ones about like giving us space and watch for our lights on the back, all that kind of stuff. So,
and we throw some funnies in there too.
We do.
Like the little blinky blinky thing in the back.
Hey, everybody likes his blinky blinky lights.
I love that blinky blinky video you did.
He did a blinky blinky for
blind spots and mirrors too.
Yep, the blind spots and mirrors. Now he's trying to think of something to do when people are cutting him off.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. That's one we put up with a lot out there, is being cut off.
Yeah, leave room when you get in front of a semi.
Yeah, I got to figure something out to make it kind of funny, but also give us some space up front, because otherwise we will crush you.
Absolutely. I was just talking about tailgating today and how, the rule is if you can see the driver in the mirror, then we can see you. But if you can't see the driver, you're too close and we can't see you.
Exactly. My thing was always, I look in my rearview mirror, and if I can't see both headlights, I'm too close.
Yeah, that's a good one too. If you can't see both headlights, that's a really good one. I never thought about that. Yeah. So, James, I was going to ask you real quick before we get ready to go. So I heard you got a drone, and Larry just got a drone. So you want to tell everybody your experience with your drone this week?
Well, I just got it while we were in Orlando. I flew it a couple of days down there in Orlando, and the night after we left Orlando, we had another day off, and I was flying my drone. It lost signal because I guess concrete building or something that it was around, because I wasn't physically standing where I could see it. It lost signal and it slammed into somebody's trailer.
Oh, no. Well, I'm sorry to cut you off, James, but this is the end of the show. So thank you guys so much for listening to us with Tail Lights tonight with James and Lori Underwood.
And thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And how can they find you, Larry and Angie?
You can find us on Facebook at Married to the Road.
Married to the Road, right here on and hear you each Tuesday night right here on TNCRadio.live. Coming up next, it's Women Road Warriors with Cassie DeCaro and Shelly Johnson here on TNCRadio.live.